Hey everybody, it's Jessica DeMassa with WTF Health. What's the future of health? I'm talking to the who's who of health tech and healthcare innovation. And today, holy cow, a guy with a lot of great news to kick off 2022. This is Peter Hames. He is the CEO of Big Health. He just closed a $75 million Series C round from Softbank. And if that's not enough, landed former FDA Deputy Commissioner Dr. Anand Shah on his board of directors. Peter, holy cow.
Exciting times.
I should say so. Congratulations on all these moves here. I want to pick your brain about what all of this means, not only for Big Health, but also for the digital therapeutic space, which I know a lot of people are keeping their eye on. And you guys are a mental health digital therapeutic. So this is even like the more under the microscope section of this category. But I want to start, I think the place to start has to be that SoftBank money. I mean, I see SoftBank money and I think this is going to be a big round, and it is. I see SoftBank money and I'm like, whatever market this is in, going to be scalable because SoftBank does not do little things, right? And I also start to think, number 3, IPO. So we're going to get into all that. But like, first off, I mean, just talk to me about this deal with SoftBank. What do you think it was that attracted them to you, Big Health, in this really crowded mental health space, this DTX mental health space specifically? I mean, you guys are very different from the other people. I should just say that right off the bat. I mean, you guys focus on anxiety, focus on sleep. So very common mental health concerns that a lot of the population is suffering from these days. You guys, and you do it in a way that is not only very clinically validated, like you guys are dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's, but you're also very tech forward. So like as much as you can push into the technology, the AI and machine learning, you're doing it. So what do you think, attracted SoftBank to you, particularly in that context?
Yeah, no, as you said, well, first of all, incredibly exciting and an honor for us to have SoftBank as partners in this round. One of the leading investors in the world. And as you say, like, I think it highlights a couple of things, like first of which is quite how enormous the mental health market is and is going to be in the future. The need is unquestionable. Our mission at Big Health is to help millions back to good mental health. We view the primary challenge in mental health as being access and like scale. And as you say, that really has informed our approach. I like to think is pretty unique, which is pairing this very rigorous evidence-based digital therapeutic approach, no humans, no coaches, no psychologists, just pure software, but delivering it in a way, knowing that it is safe and effective, that means that we can make mental health care radically more equitable. We can be reimbursed for those therapeutics by these novel mechanisms through the PBM, but there's no prescription required, there's no barriers in the way for individuals who need care to be able to access it.
All right, so SoftBank has, you're not their first digital mental health investment. In fact, you're not even their first DTX investment in the mental health space. So, I mean, they've got Cerebral, they're in there, which is like full service, the whole care delivery, very people heavy, right? LME, they have, which is peds focus. And the one that I feel like everybody's going to be comparing to you is like, what is this thing? SoftBank is in Pear. I mean, they led Pear's Series D right before that company IPO'd, SPAC IPO at the end of last year. So, I mean, what should we make about the fact that SoftBank sees room in their portfolio for both Big Health and Pear?
So I think, for me, the first thing I take from that is quite how big the opportunity is. I have no doubt that in the next 3 to 5 years, we will see multiple companies being built at the size and scale of Big Pharma. We have solutions and products that are more scalable than medications, as effective, if not more effective, and definitely safer in many cases. And so all of the ingredients are there to build like very, very big businesses and an absolutely enormous industry. Secondly, because it's so big, it doesn't just afford, it requires a real diversity of approaches. This is such a big problem. There's no one answer to it. And so I think that SoftBank's approach kind of highlights that, right? This is an incredibly diverse problem that requires a whole array of different solutions. And for me, I would actually say that my experience of the dialogue with SoftBank shows that because of those investments, I think they have a very sophisticated and enlightened perspective on that market. And so what I was mentioning just before, which is, we're very unique in being able to pair this very highly validated commercial model via the PBMs that has been scaling incredibly well, but with this approach whereby we're prioritizing access, that we're not disintermediated by the prescriber. And that I think Softbank have really keyed into as being a very unique and very attractive model in the context of their experience and their previous investments.
Okay, I would imagine so. I mean, like, and I think too, I mean, Pear, like I always put them more in that substance abuse disorder space, which is a very, I mean, they do have like an FDA approved insomnia thing that I've never heard of, but I do put them more into that clinical substance abuse disorder type space. And so, I mean, I feel like, to me, both on the what types of therapies that you provide and also the way you're providing it. So, I mean, interesting that they've added you on in there, I think. I want to dig in on the other thing that's a feature of those, that SoftBank money as it's, put into a company. A lot of times this signals, the pathway to an IPO. I mean, I mentioned Pear, SoftBank led their D. Next thing you know, they're publicly traded. They've got 8 other companies in their health tech portfolio alone that are publicly traded. So what do we think about that for big health? Is that where you guys are headed?
It's the date of our IPO. No, joking.
One day somebody's going to say yes to me and I'm going to freak out.
So like in joking aside, I can say like hand on heart, like the big health board leadership is completely focused on our mission to help millions back to good mental health. Like no asterisk, no small print, like fine print. That is the North Star that every decision in the business gets made behind. And so, this funding gets us that next leg of that journey. And so so essentially, like we're going to just focus on growth and focus on, continuing the momentum that we've built today. And you'll have to keep watching the space.
Okay, well, no, but tell me a little bit about the funding. Let's get into that. I mean, so it's like, I feel like I just talked to you when you guys closed your 39 million Series B, but it was in June of 2020. Yeah. And like, here you are now, like total funding near like 130, just shy of 130 million. So I mean, like, what's the money for now? I mean, you said scaling, but can you give us a little bit more than that, please?
Totally. Yeah, no, of course. And I think we have spent a number of years, I feel like very intentionally building the foundations of what we see as being like the future model of a big piece of digital therapeutic, particularly in mental health. And so the clinical evidence, like a big piece has been, these commercial rails, working out how we can bill via the PBM alongside all the other therapeutics, and, of course, the products necessary to deliver those outcomes and those benefits for members and for payers. And so, this capital is really about just accelerating on a whole array of those different vectors. So it means like scaling that commercial model, like in the US and internationally. So, we've had this great traction with the NHS in Scotland, expanding the product platform. So we've invested heavily in technology, which allows us now to add, new therapeutics, very rapidly, looking to launch 6 new digital therapeutics by 2024.
16?
6.
6. I was like, oh my God.
It'll be 16.
6.
Definitely at least 6. And so, in combination, and of course, like continuing to drive that very strong research pipeline. So, we've always, I believe, led the industry in that respect, over 60 peer-reviewed publications, on our actual products. As a result, we're in the clinical guidelines. And so really just like putting more fuel on that fire. And, I want to see that evidence base grow exponentially from here.
The 6 new therapeutic areas, can you give us any foreshadowing of what we might expect or no?
Well, probably not at this stage, but yes, but the focus is going to
remain. But they're coming, which is exciting.
They're coming, and we're going to be very much, again, the sort of lens through which we will continue to look it's about scale of access, it's about maximizing, like I say, increasing equity in mental health, and as a result, focusing on the problems that are faced by the most people.
I want to tease you that part of this funding is going to Anand Shah's board fee, but I feel like it might be well worth it. So let's talk about that for a minute, because I think this is a really interesting follow-on announcement to the fundraise, because taken together, these two things indicate a lot about, I think, where this whole digital therapeutics market is headed broadly, and then specifically in mental health care as well. I want to hear about, former Deputy Commissioner at the FDA, we'll talk about a, not so secret weapon. He's going to be able to give you, one would imagine, some really great insight on what the FDA is thinking from a regulatory perspective in DTX moving forward. Is that the reason? What competitive advantage do you guys see in having Anand at the table?
So yeah, I mean, Anand, as you say, is a real star, and I've been very grateful that we've been working with him for a while as an advisor, and seeking his counsel. In addition to his amazing resume at the FDA, he also, worked at CMS previously, and so has this amazing perspective across, both of those really important entities in the overall ecosystem. Yeah, I mean, I think it speaks to, point one, like his endorsement of our approach. And, I think Anand can see, and I think it speaks to the way the overall industry will go. I think that with any new therapeutic technology, like through history, it's, the success comes from reinventing the value chain around the unique benefits and constraints of that technology. And I think that what we're going to continue to see is, more and more nuance around different regulatory pathways, different distribution models, where the key question is not like, does it fit into this category or that category? It's like, is this approach fit for purpose? And I think what Anand has been able to see is that given our market leading clinical evidence, that our more nuanced approach to regulatory is the right approach given the problem that we're trying to solve.
I want to drill into that a little bit, because especially as you're talking about value chain and we're talking about regulatory environment, pathway to market, I'm curious to hear what you think is going to come ahead, because I think this year is going to be a big year in digital therapeutics in the space. I'm watching this very closely. I'd love to hear your perspective, but it's you've got the two competing models, right? So you've got some digital therapeutics companies that may even be in the same portfolio as you that are prescription driven, right? That require a prescription in order to be distributed. And then you guys have a very flexible distribution model. And I think even beyond that, there are a lot of pharma companies that are in this DTX space, and they're pushing for the prescription model because they're like, we understand this pathway to market. How does that get overcome for somebody that's got more of a flexible distribution model, not sacrificing any of the clinical quality or anything there, but just opting to not be prescribed? What do you think is going to happen in that space? And how is this going to net out this year? And then where do you see this headed in the long term? I really feel like this year is going to be just pivotal in this space.
Yeah, I think the next 24 months are going to be where this industry is formed, and why I think, I believe that we're in a really strong position to play a really meaningful role in the shaping of that industry. Yeah, so we're seeing these different approaches emerge, right? And I think, just to reiterate, I don't think there's one answer, right? It's all a case of given the particular patient group, given, the problem that you're trying to solve, then what is the right approach? In the categories that we operate, my view has just been we know that these solutions are safe, these therapeutics are safe, are really safe. And we know that they're super effective. It's 60 plus clinical papers now showing that. Why in a set of disease states where the main issue is access, where 40% of the adult population is suffering at a clinical level from these issues, why would we force this through a prescriber? That's just my view. And to be clear, our therapeutics can be referred by physicians. There's nothing stopping a doctor from referring people to our solutions. They're doing that in the UK through the NHS at very significant scale. But the key approach, the key element of our approach is not being restricted to only prescription. So you'd have to ask, the companies that have elected that pathway.
Oh, don't worry, I will.
Of it is. But for me, it's very first principles mindset of just tackling the problem in the best way possible.
All right, so you guys have some really solid ways to market, and I want to ask about two of the marquee partnerships that I know about. So give me an update on what's going on in Scotland. So you guys rolled out countrywide in Scotland via the NHS. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going great. So this is obviously, we obviously announced this last year that our digital therapeutics have become the first digital therapeutics globally to be reimbursed across the whole country in Scotland via the NHS. Which is pretty great. And my co-founder is Scottish. She's particularly excited about that. And it's allowed us to really pioneer that whole model, to think at national scale, to demonstrate the incredible scalability of our approach. So, working with PCPs, working with primary care docs to help support them in referring/prescribing into our solutions, but also, approaching it in different ways, using public health communications, to alert people who otherwise maybe wouldn't have presented to care to be able to access the care that we know that will make them better. And so, yeah, so it's going great. We hope to be able to provide more results from that in short order, but so far very positive, and it's a great partnership.
All right, we can't wait to hear the outcomes. I'm sure you guys are tracking everything. I know it's early days in this still, but I'm very interested to hear how this goes, because that is a big population of people. I mean, that's super exciting to me. The other marquee partnership I remember is CVS Health. So what's going on there? I mean, this is a longer relationship. So give us an update on CVS. How's that going?
Yeah, again, a really key partnership for us, and very grateful to continue to deepen that partnership. And the thing that has always been really striking to me about CVS is just the array of different assets that they have, from the physical stores, through to Aetna, through to the PBM, and so it creates a really unique set of opportunities in terms of developing care models and how you can really innovate in the way in which care is delivered. So yeah, the core of what we're doing with CVS, as I've already mentioned, is this ability to be billed and administrated like a drug through the PBM, billing via pharmacy claims. And so we're seeing, really exceptional growth there, in terms of coverage that we can drive, through employers, increasingly in dialogue, with health plans, to look to see how we can continue to grow the populations of people that we're able to provide care to. But then, yeah, increasingly, and again, watch this space, but novel methods of us being able to reach individuals in need very, very efficiently.
Ooh, I like that. Little tease there. We'll have to, see what the tarot cards say later on that one. All right. I think the last big question I have for you, Peter, and I think this is probably going to be the question of the year in the digital mental health space, and possibly even in the digital therapeutic space, but more in the digital mental health space, is that there is so much money out there that has been invested into a lot of companies over the last 2 years. And it's we're starting to see these models build out for some of these digital mental health companies that are going end-to-end full service. I mean, the one that comes to mind is Headspace Health, which was the combination of mindfulness, consumer-focused app Headspace with Ginger, which was more of a virtual care coaching, therapy type of driven business. And those two merged, and now they're providing this whole end-to-end scale. They even actually acquired a company that reminded me a baby version of what you guys have going on. It's called Samara, and they have an anxiety and a sleep. I mean, seed funded, nothing to worry about, but still, as companies like that, a Lyra Health, or even Cerebral, which is in Softbank's portfolio, and I mentioned earlier, as they start to look and they're funded where they can acquire, and they start to build out these business models that go end to end, what does that do for you as big health? Do you start selling to those guys? Don't acquire it, just use us. What does this do to your model and how you guys grow and remain competitive in the future?
Yeah, I think it's a very, very exciting moment all around. This is one of the ways in which it's exciting. Before our eyes, we're seeing the next generation of mainstream healthcare be formed, and particularly mental health care. In that context, I think, the term that I always say bandied around is point solution. In this context of all this consolidation, how can point solutions thrive? All drugs are point solutions. Every medication is a point solution. And so, and
they've done pretty well, right, Peter?
They've done
pretty well. Have done pretty well.
Drugs have done pretty well. And I think that's the best analogy I can draw, which is to say, I think we'll continue to see a lot of consolidation. The really big opportunity for us at Big Health is striving to build that digital pharma, and of course, it will look like today's pharma in certain ways. And I learn with great humility from what has been successful, but it will look very different in others. The thing that it will have in common is just scale. So compared, a lot of these newer mental health companies are making great strides in terms of coverage. But you look at CVS as the number one PBM, just CVS alone administrates the drugs for 100 million Americans. So the scale of the existing infrastructure around pharmacotherapy, which I think we're striving to, and we have great track record in now finding pathways through, again, maps so well to our mission to help millions back to good mental health, that remains kind of the North Star, and the default for us is to continue to grow to a size and scale to challenge big sections of big pharma.
So exciting. I can't believe like in the last like 3 or 4 years, just like how both mental health and digital therapeutics have just separately evolved. And then like to be able to talk to you where that intersection is, I think it's just so exciting. I mean, that's like the most promising space in that Venn diagram, I think.
Totally.
Love it. I really do. Well, congratulations again on your huge news. I mean, like what a week of news here. What are you going to do for us next week? So help me God, if it's the IPO announcement, I'm going to be very, very upset.
No comment.
Oh, okay. Just in case it twitched a little. Thanks so much, Peter. This is big enough news, and we very much appreciate you stopping by to walk us through all of it and what it really means, especially at the top of this year, which is going to be a big year in all of these spaces, like we said. And so it's exciting to hear your perspective and also get a little bit of that inside scoop on, why Softbank decided to go with big health. That's super exciting. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Jess. A pleasure.
All right. Congratulations one last time to this guy, Peter Hames. He's the CEO of Big Health. Their apps that are out there are Daylight and Sleepio. Check those out. And to check out more interviews with the who's who of health tech as they are changing the way that we do healthcare, please check out my YouTube channel over there at youtube.com/WTF Health, or you can go to WTF.health, which is my website, and sign up for my email newsletter, and I will send those interviews right into your inbox. I'm Jessica DeMassa. Thanks so much for joining us. Bye.